shame doesn't get you anywhere. You start to leverage each mistake so that it builds you closer to a win. What are the points of access that allowed you to relapse? Beating yourself up about porn only pushes you back towards using porn. You don't want to try to fight it. There are millions of people living without it. And if they can do it, why can't you? You won't relapse anymore. So discipline might be difficult on day one. The key is to The key is right after relapse, you don't want to overpromise yourself. I understand it's tempting to want to go to the mirror and say, this will never happen again. I am done with this completely. I am changing my life today. And that sounds empowering on paper. That sounds like something that would be good for you. But how many times has that happened in the past? By doing that, you corrode your own self-trust, and eventually you begin to not believe yourself when you say that. So it actually does more harm than good. What you do want to do is not be so dramatic about it. You want to realize what just happened as if you were an external source. You want to look at what just happened as if you weren't you. What would you do? What would you say? Basically, you want to try to contain the damage that was just done. Allow the blast radius to be where it was. It already went off. The explosion happened. You can't take that back. But what you can do is damage control. You can prevent it from happening again or seeping into other areas of your life that you didn't want it to. And you do that by simply stating, okay, that happened. I'm going to not make that same mistake today. Don't be so overpromising about it. Don't be too crazy about what you will do. Just try to commit to not doing it for the next 24 hours. And to say, okay, that just happened. And don't shame yourself for it. Shame doesn't get you anywhere. Shame and guilt will only drag you down. You don't want to shame yourself for your past mistakes, ever. You do want to take the lesson and learn from each one. That is the iterative process. You iterate and you learn from each mistake. You learn from each relapse. And in doing so, each one becomes a powerful tool to not do it again. You start to leverage each mistake so that it builds you closer to a win. And that can be applied to anything in life, not just relapsing to porn or to anything else that may be afflicting you. So you want to do that first and foremost. Look at what you just did. Look at the environment that you were in, the systems that fell through, which hopefully you had set up, but didn't work the way you intended them to. Look at what room you were in, where you were, which device you were on. What are the points of access that allowed you to relapse? And in doing so, you learn from each one. And eventually you will learn so much that you can stop it altogether. You stack it up, and that builds and compounds. And it might not happen instantly because of that. Sometimes you just don't know. You can analyze to a T, you can analyze it all. But analyzing it that much doesn't always guarantee that you'll find every last thing that caused it to occur. And sometimes along the journey, new things will crop up and cause you to relapse again. Things you didn't expect. New weeds. New things pulling you back. And then you have to deal with those in their own way too. So you want to look at what time you also relapsed. Was it late at night? Did you not go to bed when you said you were going to? Was there unplanned time? These are all things that we could go down and talk about and things that need to be addressed. But without shame, without beating yourself up. beating yourself up only pushes you towards it. And that kind of beating yourself up about porn only pushes you back towards using porn. And it seems like an oxymoron because it seems like it would be a paradox. It seems like beating yourself up about it would give yourself that punishment. But that's not the case. Beating yourself up about relapsing is only going to cause more negative internal friction, which is what brought you towards relapse anyway. So you don't want to beat yourself up about it. You want to be grounded about it and just fall off your horse and get back on it. Don't make it as big of a scene. Don't give it that power. A lot of times what can happen is by making it this huge monumental thing in your mind, by making this huge monumental thing in your mind, what you actually do is give it way more power than it even deserves. Don't make it this colossal thing. If in your mind it seems like this colossal, giant, untamable beast, do you think that you're going to have the confidence to actually get rid of it? To put it beneath you? Because it just makes it statistically less likely. What you do want to do is take it off the pedestal. And there's two things that I mean by that. Number one is take it off the pedestal of that it's not this colossal thing. Yes, it is causing damage in your life. Yes, it is something that you want to get rid of. Yes, it is something that is probably causing a great amount of shame and guilt, even if you're not feeding it that. You don't want to feed it extra shame and guilt, but naturally there's probably a tinge of shame and guilt resulting from it. And you want to try to rid yourself of that as much as you can. You don't want to feed that. And you do that by taking it off the pedestal. Don't see it as this big colossal thing. See it as exactly what it is, a bad habit. A bad habit is what costs you time and energy and often other things and doesn't result in a net positive in your life. And that's exactly what porn is. So don't make it more grandiose than it is. The second way take it off the pedestal is take porn itself off the pedestal. Don't see it as this huge, great source of pleasure. Because if you do, and it might be true that it is, but the more that you see it as boring, the more that you see it as these are just things that I've seen before. I've done this a million times over. Will it really be that different? They're just body parts. It's just, something small. It's not that big of a deal. And the more you see it like that, the more you train yourself over time to see it as that. It's not this huge thing that you're fighting. You don't want to try to fight it, because if you try to fight it, then again, you're putting it on a pedestal of this big giant thing. You want to try to ignore it. And by ignoring it, you take away all of its power. What power does it have over you then? If you're not fighting it, if you're literally ignoring it, it's like a bully. If you stoop to a bully's level and throw it right back at them, and you try to fight them at where they're fighting at, if you try to fight a bully at the level that the bully is fighting at, you just give away your time and energy and your peace, your sovereignty to the bully, which helps no one. But if the bully calls out and calls you names, but you realize that that doesn't apply to you anyway, that's unimportant. The bully's just saying that because they are fragile-minded, they have a fragile ego, they have whatever problems are going on in their life, and that's the only way that they can cope with them, and that gives them some sort of relief from that. Good for them. It's not personal, doesn't affect you, whatever. You move on from that. It's the same thing, right? If you see porn like that porn is just this thing trying to get under your skin, but it's unimportant. It's not actually important to you, right? I think that's one of the main distinctions that you can make, that it's not important to you. Porn is not important in your life. That you can live a happy, blessed, healthy life without it. And once you realize that, that gives you so much power back that you can reclaim, because it's true. There are millions of people living without it that either they never started in the first place or they found their peace afterwards because of it, because they dropped it. And they're living a healthy life. They're living happily without it. And if they can do it, why can't you? Hey, real quick, if you're struggling with porn or lust, I put together a free 10-minute training that breaks down the yin-yang states that help me stop giving into urges and find peace without white-knuckling it. It's no fluff, just the exact framework that made the biggest difference for me. If that sounds helpful, click the link below. It's 100% free, and if not, enjoy the rest of this episode. The other thing is you want to be honest about it. Yes, it will hurt being honest about it. It will take a shot at your ego. But it's the only way to actually move forward. Don't shame yourself, but be honest. Okay, I messed up. This is what happened. This is where things went wrong. This is where it could have been better. Good idea is to log it in some way. And then learn as you continue. And eventually you will see the patterns of, okay, it always happens at 10 p.m. when I have my phone and I get into bed, for example. And if that's the pattern, then it's like, okay, go to bed at 9:45, put your phone across the room, and then I won't do it anymore. And that might seal off that one avenue towards relapse. And eventually you will seal off all the avenues, and then there'll be no way to get there. You won't relapse anymore. And that's how we succeed. And that's how we win. It's not this big dramatic thing. I'm never doing this again. Because the truth is that the habit is ingrained. And it's not going to happen overnight. As sucky as that is. I don't even want to say 99 times out of 100. I would say 9,999 times out of 1,000, if not more, it doesn't happen overnight. So you've got to do the way that actually works. If those are odds that you want to bet on, be my guest, but don't expect it to work, right? Those are lottery winning chances. You might as well go play the lottery and expect to become a millionaire and rely on that. You also don't want to avoid it after a relapse. The best thing that you can do right after a relapse is clean out everything that caused you to relapse and immediately set up some sort of blocker to stop you, or at least add friction to doing that exact thing again. If we want to use the avenue example again, imagine you add a roadblock in the middle of the avenue. Can you go and drive up to the avenue again and move the roadblock? Sure. But the more you do it, the more it's going to become less feasible. You want to build up any blockers that you want to rebuild any blockers that you may have destroyed and rebuild them and put up new ones if that's possible. And you want to clean out whatever avenue that you took. delete the files, block the websites, uninstall the apps. Take it step by step, because it's not usually just you started somewhere and then you relapsed. It's not usually like that. Usually it was a slow incremental increase towards the relapse. You had a thought, and then you clicked on Instagram, and then that got your mind buzzing, and then you got your hormones stirred up, and then you went on to a more risque website, and then you full on relapsed. That's usually how it works. It's a slow buildup. So maybe it's time to uninstall Instagram. See where you can add friction and have it be plausible and realistic. Do you really need Instagram? And be sure to delete the files. Be sure to clean out any areas that will give you direct, immediate access. You want to put some sort of friction in the way. The key thing to do after you relapse on day 0 is to make sure that you don't throw in the towel completely. It's very important to not just say, well, I already did it. It's time to throw everything out the window. Because that will make recovery for the next few days that much harder. It will double the cravings. It will double the temptations. It will make everything so much more difficult. You will carve yourself a stronger habit. You will add bricks. You will give your enemy, which in this case would be porn, ammunition. You're willingly handing over ammunition when you do that. You willingly set it up so that you yourself will get have a stronger damage from this. You will sustain more damage if you throw in and completely spiral. You can have a small slip up and then continue the rest of your day as normal. Now, I understand why that feels weird, because there's that cognitive dissonance there. There's a disparity between, well, if I can just continue my day as normal and my identity is the same, but I'm relapsing in the same day, isn't that a problem? And the answer is yes, that is a problem. But it doesn't mean that porn needs to take more from your life than it already has. It doesn't mean that you need to give it more than it deserves, which honestly is nothing. But if you have already given it something, if you've already relapsed, and then you allow it to take even more from you by spiraling into an unhealthy habit, by spiraling into doing more junk, doing more, you go off total deep end, eating junk food and laying around and scrolling and doing nothing after that because, well, what does it matter? I already relapsed. I already hit the bottom. What does it matter? It does matter. Because you fight against it. You build against it would be a better way to put it. You don't fall off your horse and then start walking the other direction, angry that you fell off your horse. And throwing your boots away, and you don't do that. What do? You get back on your horse and you just continue. By being that unfazed, that just happened, you would think that would make it easier to relapse again because you gave yourself zero punishment. Because it's almost like, okay, that happened. Oh, well, and then you just moved on. But what it really does, by being so unfazed and moving on, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It diminishes the power that porn has over you in your life. which is crucial for success, necessary if you want to recover, if you want to stop this bad habit. Punishments don't work. The bad habit in itself is the punishment. You lost that time, you lost that energy. It already affected you. It's already a bad habit that you want to get rid of. And that's going to remain the same. That's not going anywhere. So diminishing it to just that. It's a bad habit. You did it. And move on. We often put off our lives until we have this conquered. But I'm telling you, that is the wrong move. If you put off your life until you have conquered porn, what you are doing is giving your entire life away to porn, which you would think would make it have more of a gravity, more of a pull, which would stop you from doing it because the consequences are so large. But it's actually the exact opposite. It just destroys your entire life and takes everything from you. And you will continue doing it because that path is carved. So you want to let go of doing that and just start to act as if. Act as if you are the person that you want to be. As much as possible. Doing so will allow you to step into the life that you already want. It might not be where you want to be right now, but what if the person that you want to be was dropped into your life today? Would they, A, continue down a shit spiral every time that you relapse? Or every time that they relapsed? Or would they B, relapse and then get back and start doing whatever they were doing as if it never even happened? They would do B. They would continue down the road of whatever they needed to do. A good way to think about it is, say you had a dog and this dog ripped up your entire couch, right? That's a bad habit that they have. It's something that's undesirable. But would you train the dog to destroy your entire living room and the rest of your house? Or would you train the dog, say, hey, don't do that again? And then continue on, do what you need to do, get the new couch, and continue on. If your dog ripped up your entire couch, that's done. The damage is done. Nothing you can do about that. It's undesirable, but it's what happened. So you need to move on and just continue and teach the dog not to do that, but don't allow the dog to continue to destroy the rest of your house because, well, whatever now. Oh, well. Stop it. Stop the blast radius where you can and continue on. Now, day 1. This is the day after relapse. This day is crucial because the day after relapsing from porn, you will have intense urges, most likely. You will have what's known as the chaser effect. What the chaser effect is it's your brain trying to chase that dopamine that you just got less than 24 hours ago. That dopamine was so high that your brain now wants to get that again. That's what our brains are designed to do. To chase the things that feel good. Because our brains are programmed to do that so that we survive, so that we can evolve and grow. And to our primal mind, that is what evolution and growing is. That is what keeps us alive. The feel-good feelings. which is why things are rewarding and why other things don't feel rewarding. So the key is to know that beforehand. Prepare yourself for the chaser effect. Don't be blindsided by it. You know it's going to be there now. And remembering that this phase won't last forever can help you get through it. You don't need to think that this is how it lasts forever, that you're going to be in this endless limbo of this intense craving and pleasure infinitely. That intense craving and pleasure, it's very strong day one, and it can happen probably up to 2 weeks. Depends person to person. It varies. And it will spike every now and then. But you just got to get through that one day. You just got to keep trudging through and get away from it when you can. Day one, also, both day 0 and day 1, you're probably, because you kind of just fried your reward system with dopamine. You overflooded your brain with so much dopamine that your reward system can become fried. Not necessarily, but most likely. Because it's that strong of a pull. Because of that, you're most likely going to feel numb and muted for the next 36, 48 hours after a relapse. So what you want to do is do the things that you can just put your head down and work on. If you're able to, that will be some of the greatest periods of work. Eventually, that'll be your norm, that you can just put your head down and work, and because your reward system will be intact and it'll be normal baseline levels. But for right now, while you're in the recovery process, putting your head down and working will be a great way to keep yourself busy. It will get you a lot done. And you take breaks as needed, but you can have these stretches of just do the thing and not have to worry about your reward system as much. If you have things set out to do, which you should be chasing something in your life. You should have a mission, a passion at least, and you should have plans to execute on that, because without that makes porn recovery so much more difficult. If you don't have a main mission in your life, then it's like you're not actively chasing something. And then almost what can happen is porn becomes your mission. Even if not so in the forefront of your mind, in the back of your mind, porn can become your mission. So you want to replace that with something in actuality. Something that's going to actually get you somewhere. So you have the mission now. You have the steps to do. You have things to do. Your reward system is fried. But you show up and you do the things anyway. You just put your head down and work. And then you get somewhere and you start to get positive momentum. And that's not nothing. That positive momentum can carry you. Sometimes it will carry you for several days. And it will actually aid in your recovery because you get that momentum and then you won't be as tempted to relapse to porn. Not only that, but you're filling your time. Your time needs to be scheduled and filled. At the very least, filled with a plan of action. Because if it's not, then you'll have unscheduled time. And unscheduled time is one of the greatest threats to somebody recovering from porn. Unscheduled time lets you go willy-nilly and do whatever you want. sometimes, a lot of the times, whatever your primal mind wants. And your primal mind wants porn. So we need to use what is overriding the primal mind, our logical mind. Our logical mind is the only thing that can override our primal mind. That and systems set up in place. So we need to use that to our advantage. That's the only way that we get through this. Now, if discipline seems difficult when the day after, and it seems like you're not able to get yourself to do things, to get yourself to put your head down and work. If it gets to a point where it overwhelms you too much and you get too stressed out internally, you feel this inner strong resistance, and that starts pushing you back towards porn, towards the temptations, then you should get out of your environment and you should do something that is still productive and healthy. At the very least, just healthy. Take a walk and calm down. It's better to have a half a day of work done and still be able to have your head held high at the end of the day because you didn't relapse again than it is to try to have a full day done, but then end up spiraling and messing up probably still the same half rest of your day and the days following. So discipline might be difficult on the day one. All you need to do is try. And you know what? If that's still too difficult, I think you're adding too much weight at once. And you need to reel it back and don't try to go full all out at once. Start smaller. And in doing so, you can slowly stack the weights. It's really a juggling act of not overwhelming yourself, having that self-care for yourself, while also pushing through your bullshit, your excuses. It's a balancing act. You want to push through as much as you can. But when it gets too much that you know that your primal mind is taking over, you feel this strong internal resistance that it isn't ignorable anymore. And that will and does happen. Then you get away from it. And then you calm down in a helpful, relaxing way. Not by scrolling, not by doing something unproductive. By doing something real. And that makes you feel connected and rejuvenated. Does scrolling make you feel rejuvenated? No. Going on a walk does. Getting some fresh air does. Sitting and listening to music can and often does. Hell, singing your heart out to a song can. You can feel invigorated. So there are some alternatives. Some options to consider when you feel that internal resistance. You don't have to choose between grinding like a pure machine and collapsing like a mess. The third option is knowing your boundaries and being honest with them of wherever you are. And that's the healthy option. That's how people actually get things done. They don't start with their boundaries being boundless. They start with their boundaries being narrow and tight. And then over time, and they work within them. And then over time, their boundaries slowly open up of how much they can handle at once. It doesn't start at 100%. It starts at 30% or less. And then they slowly can build that up. The other thing is that you're going to have to learn, anybody on any sort of mission needs to be able to do things without the dopamine. They need to be able to do things when it doesn't feel pleasurable, when you don't feel like it. It's perfect training day, day one. It's a perfect day to learn this and to put this into practice. Discipline is doing things when you don't feel like it. Porn might slow that and drag you down and make that more difficult, but it doesn't mean that you can't try to apply that for your life, for you, for your main mission. It doesn't mean you have to give it more than it already has taken. Shame will often be way louder on day one after a porn relapse. But the key is that you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to take that and internalize it. You don't have to take that on as yours. See it as an outside troll trying to attack a small dig at you. See it as something that is trying to attack you in an irrelevant way. Now, that might be a difficult thing for you too. The way that you handle things like that is by realizing is that you're giving permission to something that is not you. What do I mean by that? If somebody said to you, you have stupid blue hair, and you don't have blue hair, let's assume. You're going to be like, okay, you're not going to really react to it. If then they hunker down, then they double down and say, your hair is so blue. I can't believe you choose blue. Blue is such a stupid color. You look so dumb, right? You're just going to, okay. You're not even going to be fazed by it. You'll think it's kind of funny, actually. Why is that? You don't believe it to be any sort of true. Whereas other cases, if somebody said, you have stupid hair, and you took that personally because you're like, oh, well, what they're saying might actually be true. You're giving them that permission slip of that, yeah, okay, I agree with you to a degree. The key point is to not do that. Which can be easier said than done. But the key point is to not take on what they said as your own. Or in this case, not take on whatever the guilt and shame is whispering in your ear as your own. You made a mistake. You're human. Whatever series of actions led you to this point is partly deterministic and partly what it is. It is what it is. It's not your fault, per se, but it's your responsibility to change it. You've simply been swept up by a system that was laid out before, in some degree, before you had the capabilities to resist it. And now you're here. It has nothing to do with who you are intrinsically. It has nothing to do with your essence, your being, your soul, your humanness. You are still worthy of love. You are still worthy of greatness. And you're capable of so much. It doesn't define you. It's not who you are. It's simply a small action in your life that you want to get rid of. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get rid of it because it's affecting you. It doesn't determine your self-worth. So please don't make that mistake. That it does. That it's who you are. Because it's not. You're so much more than that. You have so much more of a personality, a being, of interests and things that you like, of passions. Your heart. You're so much more than this bad habit. Don't let it hold the strings in your life. Don't let it drive you. Don't let it take the steering wheel. You are more than that. And you were meant for more than that. Hey, just real quick. A lot of guys watching this are fighting their urges in silence, thinking they just need more willpower. But that couldn't be further from the truth. And that's exactly why I created this free training. It walks you through the exact emotional shifts that help me stop chasing urges and start rewiring. If porno lust is a part of your struggle, I think it'll really help. Links below. When you're on day one, another thing that you can do is, when you take a break, is to do something that I call a saltine activity. Saltine activities are basically bland, boring activities that are meant to be just kind of a relaxing reset. At some point, you do need to train your brain to be okay with a bit of boredom, of doing things that aren't super high flashy, high dopamine, high crazy in your face. Because if your brain is trained on that, it's always going to be seeking that level, which porn is very much that level. And for somebody that has that habit, it's very much a easy resort, easy go-to. If you train your brain to allow a few minutes at first, even, of just laying down on, say you just sit and lay down on your stomach with your head in the pillow, in a bed. We've all had days that we are just so pooped that we just crash down onto our bed and lay there. You can do that even if you're not that level of exhausted. It can be very relaxing. Another example of a saltine activity is just taking a warm shower. It allows you to reset, and there's this whole thing about shower thoughts, right? It's because your mind is kind of just in this relaxing, almost meditative state. It's a very good reset. Sitting and listening to relaxing music. Anything that is just very low dopamine, but relaxing. You don't want to be in the middle area of what I call sloth mode, of doing something, but you're actually doing nothing while trying to relax. That's how I would define sloth mode. You're in this hazy gray area. You don't want to be in that gray area because it's neither productive. It's not productive. It's not neither actuality productive, and it's neither productive towards relaxing. It's neither. Which is what scrolling or something like that is. If you're taking a break for relaxation's sake, relax. If you're taking a break because you are feeling lonely, be with others, even if online. Play a video game. Say, even if you're not like fully exhausted, then there you go. You got to go to try to fulfill the need at where it is, at the base. If you're taking a break because you are hungry, you eat, correct? You don't take a break and because you're exhausted and then still try to expend energy. That just doesn't make sense. The day after is when most people slip up, if they make it this far. The first few days are the roughest. They are very difficult and can be very tough to get through. But the day after, day 2, can be either the most empowering day, or it can be where you relapse and have to reset again. Now, a lot of guys will feel very different depending from person to person on day 2 after a porn relapse. Day 2 after a porn relapse, you're going to either feel down or angry or full of so much energy within that you don't know what to do with, or nothing at all. It varies greatly, but the key thing that is consistent across the board is that it is a strong emotion of some degree. Even nothingness, it's either complete, it's very black and white is what it is. You either feel nothing at all, you either feel really angry, really down, or some other emotion. The key is to allow yourself to feel it. This is one of the main keys in recovering from porn, is to allow yourself to feel the emotions without allowing them to control you. You can feel emotions without allowing them to be your governor. You don't have to let them take the wheel. They can be there, and you can feel them as a passing thought. And don't try to fight them either. Don't try to say, I don't like how this emotion feels, get away, and you try to push it away. Because if you do that, you're actively fighting it and adding energy towards the emotion. As backwards as that seems, that's what happens. If you instead don't fight it, and instead let go of trying to control the situation and allow yourself to feel the emotion in waves as they come. Say, okay, I do not have control over how I feel about this. I do not have control over what emotions crop up, but I have absolute control in how I respond. And you want your response to be that of observation and letting go of the emotion. Not fighting it, trying to force it out, but allowing it to come and allowing it to pass. And this will apply especially for day 2 after relapse and throughout your entire recovery journey. Because what are urges other than strong feelings within that you should decide you don't have to act on? Because they don't define you either. There was this guy once, I can't remember who right now, but essentially he had panic attacks out of nowhere. And he went to the doctors, got himself checked out, and the doctor basically said, look, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You're completely medically fine. And it took him a little while, but eventually he figured out from reading something online to face that which was causing him all this panic. So whenever the panic attack came up, he faced it. He didn't try to run from it. He didn't try to fight it. He just simply said, okay, give me everything you've got. Come on, hit me. And in doing so, he embraced it. You want to know the crazy thing about that? What happened was that in doing that, it went away almost immediately. And he stopped having panic attacks because he faced it head on without trying to change the situation and control the narrative. That is such an empowering thing to do. In any situation where your emotions seem to be out of control, to be driving you, to be something that you're trying to fight against. Don't fight against the emotions. Face them. Feel them. Embrace them. Don't judge them as bad or good or anything in between. They are what they are. You're a human. Emotions are normal. Feelings are normal. So accept them. Don't necessarily act on them, and move on. Your brain's also going to say on day 2 that you're doing pretty good, that you can give yourself a little bit of slack, you can give yourself a little bit of leeway, you can peak just a little bit. Just go on Instagram a little bit, all right? You're doing good. You're not going to fall off now, right? It's a trick. It's a trap that your mind tries to play on you, your primal mind, to try to get you to go back to relapse because it wants it and it knows that you are against it. And in doing so, it can grab a hold of you and push you towards it. So you don't want to listen to that voice that says just a little bit, because it's never just a little bit. Every relapse starts with just a little bit. So we can't listen to that voice because we know it'll lead us down somewhere we don't want to go. We must stay strong and realize that that thought is there to sabotage us. It's there to pull us back into a direction that we don't want to go. So you want to give it no power. And know that that will be coming for you. Knowing that beforehand, I think, is so empowering because then you're prepared for it. So when it does arrive, and it's not going to be necessarily so cut and dry, it's not going to necessarily be a voice, it's not going to necessarily say, oh, it's just a little peak or whatever. It'll feel like that, though. You'll be urged to do it, more likely than not, in a more abstract way. But remember that you can't do that. You can't go down that path because you don't want to have the consequences of what that will inevitably lead to. I want you to associate that small peak with total relapse because there's a 98% chance of that actually happening. So unless you want to relapse, don't do the small peak. Don't let that curiosity dig under your skin and get you to fall down a spiral that you never wanted to go on in the first place. Curiosity is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous, nasty tool that your primal mind uses to try to trick you. You don't have to listen to it, though. And you should actively avoid and recognize curiosity as a weapon against your own self. All you need to do is make it to bed without your phone clean. And if you can do that, you're already setting yourself up for massive success. If you can make it to the end of the day, till the next morning, really, without giving in, without taking steps in the wrong direction. And a couple steps might be made here and there, but if you catch yourself before it blows up in your face, you can still recover that day and still have it be a net positive day. You want to try to have it be as net positive as possible. Don't get me wrong. Don't allow yourself to take a few steps because, well, a little bit of leeway is okay. Aim for 0% of giving in. And a couple tools that you can use is no screen time after 9 p.m. or whenever close to your bedtime is. You want to not have your phone near you at night. Night is a very dangerous place for anybody recovering from porn because your brain is operating in a half-baked manner and all your mind wants to do is your logical mind wants to sleep and it's already starting to fall asleep, whereas your primal mind is starting to take over. So that's why night can be so dangerous, is because you're not acting as yourself as much. You're slowly starting to falter to the whims of your primal mind. So we want to try to avoid that by setting up systems in place that make it nearly impossible for your primal mind to sabotage your recovery journey. One way of doing that too is by putting your phone across the room. Putting your phone across the room before you go to sleep, right? Not under your pillow where you can grab it in the middle of the night and potentially go down a bad relapse spiral. Putting it across the room keeps it out of the bed, which eliminates so much relapse in and of itself. Also, a side benefit from it is it's a double positive, because what you can do is wake up to your alarm across the room. And if your alarm's across the room, you have to get up out of bed. That starts your day on such a good foot because you are getting out of bed. And once you're up and out of bed and having to walk across the room, you're already up. You can continue on with your day and you won't hit snooze and oversleep and continue having this feeling of identity of you're the kind of person that sleeps in and is sluggish and has that hazy mind. You initiate, you launch, you get up, and you start to do what it is you need to do. That starts your morning on such a fresh feeling day that it's such a good benefit. So that's just a little benefit that I wanted to, little helpful tool I wanted to go over real quick. Another thing just real quick that you can do is go on a quick 10-minute walk before doing anything risky. Just before you even start truly considering it, just, okay, I need to get out. I need to go do something. I need to go on a 10-minute walk if you're able to. And bring some either music or motivational speeches or something to either relaxing music or amped up music, something to realign your identity with who you know you are. Either to calm you down, to remind you of who you are, that badass within that you are, or something to amp you up and that you can completely forget about wanting to relapse. Because maybe you listen to really good music that you really like and it amps you up and you just feel empowered and invigorated from this music. And in doing so, it kind of just shuts out, relapse, then you kind of just completely forget about it. So those are some tools that you could use. If you do all this day by day and you slowly take it one day at a time, you set yourself up for a huge success later on down the road to continue this path. And it starts you off with such a solid foundation that it almost becomes inevitable that you stop relapsing because you're starting yourself off on the right foot in your recovery journey. And if you can just remember that relapses only happen in the moment. They don't happen in the past. They don't happen in the future. They happen now. They happen moment by moment. So all you ever have to do is survive the moment. Surviving the moment is what gets you from point A to point B. And point B being recovered from this bad habit of porn. And remembering that can give you such strength. So please try to remember that and survive this moment. Even if it wasn't perfect, you did win. You didn't spiral. You didn't check out. You sat with hard emotions and stayed clean. And most guys never get that far. So keep going. And you got this. Hey, before you go, you made it this far, which means you're a part of the 1% that actually want to improve. So here's a free gift for you in case you want to break free from porn or lust. It's a 10-minute yin-yang training. It's straight to the point. It shows you how I actually overcame the urge loop without only relying on discipline. It's 100% free, and it's the first link in the description. I highly recommend starting there today if that's something that you'd like to stop.